Welcome to Technical Sales and Consulting's Training to Go e-learning series. This module covers Lockout Tagout Basics. It is designed to provide typical safety practices for all shop personnel. At the conclusion of this module, you can register to receive your certificate of completion. Be sure to take advantage of this opportunity to use this documentation as proof for your technical certification requirements or continuing education credits. Now let's get started. Here is the outline of what we will cover in the Lockout Tagout Basics training. As we did in other safety modules, we'll start out with a few key points that you will need to know about Lockout Tagout. We will go over the OSHA requirement covering Lockout Tagout. We'll explain why this procedure is important. There are a lot of terms associated with the subject. We will define them all. We will touch on the types of energy sources. We'll step through the process itself. Next, we'll talk about the need for training. And finally, we'll provide some websites where you can find further information on Lockout Tagout. Here are some key points that you need to take away from this module. You need to know the difference between lockout and tagout devices. You will need to respond properly to the presence of tags and locks. You should be able to recognize potential hazards of stored energy. You'll need to gain as much knowledge as you can covering NFPA 70E Article OSHA CFR 1910.147. These will be covered in more detail throughout the module. You might hear electricians use the term LOTO. The L stands for lock and the O stands for out. The T stands for tag, and the last O stands for out. It's an outcome of OSHA Standard 29 CFR 1910.147. It defines the control of hazardous energy by locking out and tagging out equipment to avoid injury. It applies to the control of energy during maintenance conditions. All sources of energy must be secured during maintenance procedures. Now let's discuss why this is important. First, it protects the worker from unexpected starts of energy. It is set up to prevent worker injuries. And lastly, it is designed to totally isolate a device so maintenance can be performed. It is important to remember that just turning off a switch is not the same as lockout because there is still energy in the switch. If there is a short at the switch or the machine is accidentally turned on, it will energize and cause it to run. Remember that many types of hazardous energy sources, such as springs or air, oil, steam, or water pressure, can cause sudden and unexpected movement of machines and hurt or kill you. To work safely, all hazardous energy sources must be controlled so that no machine or machine part can move. Sometimes machines and equipment must be serviced with power on. If so, your employer must minimize the hazards to you by providing extension tools, for example, extended swabs, brushes, and scrapers, or other methods to protect you from injury. Lockout tagout devices are usually organized in a center or station as seen in this photo. All lockout and tagout devices must have minimum characteristics. They must be durable and capable of withstanding the environment in which they are used. They need to be standardized by color, size, and shape to make them easily recognized by employees. They must be traceable by identifying the person who employed them. They should be substantially put on or in place or locked so that they cannot be accidentally removed. They should be identifiable with standard safety phrases such as do not operate, do not stop, or do not energize. For all the quiz questions, click on your answer, then click on Submit. Then follow the on-screen instructions. Give some time for your answer to record. Note that only clicking on the Submit button will record your answer. The term lockout means the use of devices, positive methods, and procedures to effectively isolate or secure prime movers, which is the source of mechanical power, machinery, and equipment from hazardous energy sources. Its purpose is to provide safety to employees. Time to go over this concept of energy sources. You find these all over in a typical workplace. They are electrical, water, chemical or coolant, steam, pneumatic, natural gas, hydraulic, and mechanical. If not controlled during maintenance conditions, these can cause harm to workers. Now, what is a lockout device? It is a lock and tag with the contact information of the individual or authorized employee that installed the lock. Here's a definition of tagout. Tagged out means to place a tagout device on the machine or equipment to show that it is prohibited to restart or operate the machine or equipment. It is important to note that this is a warning only. A tagout device is used when a lockout device is used or when a lockout device cannot be used and the equipment needs to be isolated. Again, these are warning devices only, and they do not control hazardous sources of energy. They must be readable and legible so anyone working in the area can read them and understand them. They must be attached securely to the operating device at the same place a lockout device would be attached. They must be resistant to degradation so that they cannot be crumpled or unreadable. And finally, the tagout device must be identified by the authorized employee who secured the tag and can only be removed by that person. It is important to understand what an authorized employee is. An authorized employee is specially trained to recognize sources of hazardous energy and to perform lockout or tagout procedures. This means that only the authorized employee can perform lockout and tagout procedures by attaching or removing locks and tags. Here are the important responsibilities of an authorized employee. They are repair or replace equipment as needed. They must ensure that all energy sources are locked out. They need to test equipment to verify that residual energy is dissipated. Place warning tags on the equipment to make sure that other employees could not inadvertently start the equipment when it is being serviced or repaired. They also need to obtain assistance when necessary to repair machinery or equipment. They must remove locks or tags when the service or repair is completed. And lastly, there may be instances when a repair may cross over different shifts. In this case, the authorized employee must coordinate and communicate to effective employees on all shifts. An effective employee is one who operates equipment or machinery but is not responsible for servicing or repairing it. However, an effective employee must be trained to know the purpose and use of energy control procedures to make sure that an operator does not inadvertently energize machines when they are under lockout or tagout. The affected employee must also know what to do if the machinery was inadvertently energized as an emergency procedure. Now, an affected employee does have some responsibility. They are the first ones to notify maintenance personnel when equipment needs to be repaired or serviced. When machinery is being serviced, affected employee must leave all lockout/tagout devices in place. They need to be able to verify that the machinery is safe to operate after the lockout/tagout is finished. This includes making sure that all safeguards are in place and functioning. Lastly, affected employees need to follow all workplace safety rules when operating machinery. One last term that needs to be discussed is form of control. The objective in controlling exposure to electrical energy is to ensure that all possible sources of electrical energy are disconnected and cannot be re-energized unexpectedly. The two types of control are simple lockout/tagout and the complex lockout/tagout, which are administrative controls from hierarchy of safety controls. In a simple lockout/tagout, a qualified person or persons de-energizes one source of the electrical energy and is responsible for their own lockout/tagout. A written lockout/tagout plan is not required. A complex lockout/tagout typically involves more than one energy source, more than one disconnecting means, requires a single person with overall responsibility, and a written plan prepared in advance for each Lockout Tagout application. Now that all the terms are explained, it's time to look at what is involved with the process of Lockout Tagout. Let's look at it step by step. The first step is identify the types of energy sources used, potential hazards, and all control devices. The next step, 2, involves notifying all the employees. In step 3, it is necessary to turn off all operating control devices. Next is step 4, to locate all the energy sources. In step 5, you need to isolate all energy sources by blocking, bleeding, and venting stored energy as found in springs, hydraulic, and pneumatic systems. In following step 6, you need to lock out all switches and energy controls in the off or safe position. Testing the operating controls by putting all the controls in the on position. Be sure nobody can get hurt before testing occurs covers step 7. Now comes step 8, which is to return all the operating controls to the off position. In step 9, the required maintenance or repair task is accomplished. The last step is 10, and that is to remove the lockout devices only after the equipment is fully functional and all affected employees have been notified. Each lockout device must be removed by the authorized employee. All persons who could be exposed or affected by the Lockout Tagout shall be trained to understand the established procedure to control the energy and their responsibility in the procedure and its execution. New or reassigned employees shall be trained to understand the Lockout Tagout procedure as it relates to their new assignments. Here are some links for additional information on Lockout Tagout. The OSHA website provides some great information on control of hazardous energy. There is also a reference containing material for employers concerning Lockout Tagout. And lastly, the National Safety Council has some resources that could help on the subject. Here are your quiz results. Please note your score and record it. You will need to transmit this score when completing your request for the certificate of completion. If the score is below the passing grade, you may retake the course and complete the quiz questions. If you receive the passing grade, please note the score and continue to the conclusion slide. You just completed Lockout Tagout Basic Safety Training, part of Technical Sales and Consulting's Training to Go Technician Safety Training. Be sure to watch for additional safety training modules. Please visit our website to see additional product modules we have designed for technicians. Visit www.tsandc.com/Pearl, P-E-A-R-L. Now is a good time to register for your certificate of completion. Click on the yellow box. This will take you to a form you need to complete to receive your certificate by email. If your browser does not support this action, visit tsnc.com/form to take you to the form. Thank you for participating in our training programs, and good luck with your future training.